Now we're ready to go.
We are ready to go.
Now we're ready to go. Got to be recording, so we can tape this for posterity for all the heresy that I will say in just a moment. Okay, let's start off with prayer. Father, we are grateful for this day, even here in Indiana in the snow. Thank you for that. I'm not sure you tell us to thank you for everything, but not sure why, but here we are. We're thanking you. And we get to study Genesis today. So help us to see it for the first time, maybe, to understand what you're calling us to do, what you're calling us to be, that we understand the Son of Man and the beasts throughout Scripture and see the beauty of this book that you've given us and how it leads to Jesus and to the church. And in your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the snake. We're going to talk about the Son of Man. We're going to talk about the beasts that are all throughout the Bible. In my mind, this could take 6 hours to do, or we might take an hour. It just depends on how excited I get and how many sidetrack places I go. That's okay. But everyone can hear me, right? You guys are all just good. Okay. So if you have the notes, that will be helpful. If you don't, then it won't be as helpful, but that you'll still be just fine. So they're on the Tuesday School site. If you go on live, if you go on to the Facebook Tuesday School, you can get those down from there. And there's a bunch of pages in there. Actually, these what your notes are going to look like. There's like 4 pages, I think. And I'm going to start talking about them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about humans who are made in the image of God. Remember, we talked about that already. That's pretty key to this whole thing. Humans are made in the image of God to rule, to represent, to care. We're going to talk about this serpent who's going to enter into this perfect, blissful, Edenic paradise. And we're going to ask, is this a snake? Is this a beast? He seems to have extra knowledge. Is there something sinister going on here? He seems to be enticing of humanity, asking them to give up their ability to rule, or for God to rule. There's something weird happening with the snake, and everyone recognizes that, right? It's because generally, the snakes don't talk. So that's a little weird. And then we're going to talk about humans specifically, not just in the image of God, but what authority is given to humans? Why do the beasts seem to take charge? And then how humans become beasts and how humans are hostile to beasts all at the same time. And we're going to talk about a line of humans that are coming that will preserve the humanness or humaneness and be in hostility with the beasts, and a line that will embrace the beasts and give them the authority. And finally, about some human that is coming, a Son of Man who is coming, who will destroy the beasts. So there's a lot of beasts and a lot of humans and a lot of craziness going on in this text. But here's where we're going to start. We're going to start in Daniel chapter 7, right? Because that's what people do when they start in Genesis. If we're going to go through Genesis, we need to start in Daniel 7 for some reason, right? So nice to see you, Sam Brody, Steve Wiedenhofer, Frida on the other one. I don't even know who else is on. Let's see here. Karen and John and Todd and Sarah and Stephanie. And yeah, I don't know which screens to look at. So you'll have to raise your hand or something, or just start speaking. That'll work too if you want to interrupt me. If you're on Zoom, you can do that. If you're on Facebook Live, you can't. You can jump on Zoom if you want, and then you can participate. So Daniel 7, I want to read it with you. If you've got a Bible, this sounds like a good sermon, right? If you have a Bible in front of you, with you, go ahead and open to Daniel 7. If not, we've provided one in the pew for you, or you can just scroll somewhere and find it there. Daniel 7, starting in verse 2. Do you even remember what's going on in Daniel? Or do you just remember that he's the guy who almost gets eaten by lions? There's a lot of other stuff going on in Daniel. For praying, right. And then a bunch of people got thrown in a fiery furnace too. You generally remember that one, if you can remember, right? Meshach, yeah. Shadrach, Abednego. Yeah, all those guys. All right, so Daniel 7 says this: in my vision at night, I looked, and there before me were four winds of heaven, churning up the great sea. Four great beasts, each different from the other, came up out of the sea. Okay, so take note of this. We've got four different beasts coming out of the sea. We've already learned some things about the sea in the past, right? The sea is this chaotic underworld kind of place that scary things happen in. So, and now we've got beasts coming up. The first was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. Okay, so not just beasts, freaky, weird beasts. Fair enough? These are some weird things going on. I watched until its wings were torn off, and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a human being, and the mind of a human was given to it. So now it has the mind of a human, and it's standing on 2 feet. And there before me was a second beast, which looked like a bear. It was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. It was told, "Get up and eat your fill of flesh." After that, I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard. And on its back, it had 4 wings like those of a bird. This beast had 4 heads, and it was given the authority to rule. Okay, so we've got 3 really freaky beasts so far. Can we just admit that? Bear, a leopard-looking thing, a lion-ish eagle thing. But this last beast has 4 heads and is given authority to rule. After that, in my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was a 4th beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts and had 10 horns. Okay, that's a lot of horns. Most animals have just a couple, right? This one has 10. While I was thinking about the horns, which is, I'm guessing, what you're doing right now, so this is pretty, like, this is normal. Yeah, 10 horns. This is very strange. Well, there was before me another horn, a little one, which came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being and a mouth that spoke boastfully. All right, so one of the horns on the animal has a mouth and eyes like a human, and it's arrogant. I would guess it would be. If it's a horn and it's got eyes and a mouth, it should be pretty arrogant, right? So as I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. Apparently, the throne has wheels. Interesting. We're not going to deal with that. Thousands upon thousands attended him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Then I continued to watch because of the boastful words the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. The other beasts had been stripped of their authority, but were allowed to live for a period of time. In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man. Okay, clue in there, son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. Even if you can't remember Daniel, you may have heard this terminology before. It might sound familiar. Son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshiped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Okay, we're just going to stop right there. We're going to bounce back and forth because this is not a Daniel. I'm not teaching about Daniel tonight. And although you've got somebody on here who could teach you everything you need to know about Daniel, Dr. Dalrymple's on here, and I'll probably call on him a lot if you guys have lots of questions about Daniel. But that's not the point. This is a starting spot to get you to see what's going on in Genesis. Okay, so, but some things we got to know about Daniel, just in the back of our head. Daniel's written between the exile and the Second Temple sometime. Okay, scholars they differ on when it's written. So the exile is like 586, right? And Second Temple, let's just say 150 years before Jesus. There's no specific time period, but a couple hundred years before and 100 years after is considered the Second Temple period. So let's put Daniel somewhere in the period of maybe Alexander the Great. Okay, something like that. So you're like, whoa, the Bible actually corresponds to actual history that we learned in our history class. Yeah. Okay, so there's all these kings, like Nebuchadnezzar is going to show up in here. Remember, he's known in other texts. We've got Darius, he's known in other texts. We're going to have a Medo-Persian named Cyrus. He's known in other texts. And obviously Alexander, and then Rome, etc. So we know something about the beasts. These beasts are all super powerful and super violent, right? That's not really brilliant to say. You've seen it there. They've got ribs in their mouth. They're crushing things with their teeth, etc. A couple of these beasts seem to have human characteristics. Okay, eyes like a man, a mouth like a man that speaks actual words, mind given to him like a human being. This last beast has 10 horns. The smallest horn is the most violent, and he has a mouth and eyes too. This horn. There is no one with authority other than the Ancient of Days. Okay, he's the guy with the authority, at least throughout most of the text that we read. And then the Ancient of Days gives authority to someone who is called the Son of Man. Okay, which is a strange thing. Okay, so we've got the Son of Man now has authority, and he's given worship, right? The beast was slain. They were allowed to live for a period of time. He's coming in the clouds of heaven. He's given all authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and people of every language worshiped him. Verse 14. He's on the throne. Okay, he's given the throne of God, or you might say the throne next to God. However you want to understand this, he is given worship on a throne, a Son of Man. What does Son of Man mean? It means he's a human. That's all it means, right? He's not a son of the gods. He's not a beast. He's a son of man. He's a son of Adam, right? This just he's a human. So one question you might ask is, why at this point in time do we not have a human on the throne? Why is this throne sitting there empty until the Son of Man comes and is given authority? These are some questions you should be asking as you're reading Daniel, especially in our context, like, because we don't know what's going on. In their context, they would understand what's happening. So they're going to go back. They're going to go back to Genesis, as Ken Ham would say. So we're going to go back to Genesis too, because that's where we're at. So back to Genesis, day 6. Okay, so I'm jumping all the way back here. Remember what happens in Genesis chapter 1 on day 6. Anybody remember that?
Mankind is made.
Yep, mankind is created.
I made a Schwarzenegger movie about it.
They made a Schwarzenegger movie about it?
6th day.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So verse 27 says, God created human beings, or man, in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Okay, so in God's image, and we talked a lot about this already. The image of God, or the likeness, tselem, the appearance of, right? He's there to represent. In Greek, it's the word icon, right? So those of you who weren't here before, or just need a little reminder of all this, when a king comes into town, he conquers, and then he leaves because he wants to go back to Rome or to Greece or wherever. So he might come into Jerusalem, he'll conquer this place, and then he'll leave a king in that place. That king is his representative. He must represent the real king. Maybe a king will put a big statue there, right? It'll be a statue of him. Maybe Nero or one of the Caesars is putting a statue there. So every time you walk by, you know, oh, this guy's in charge. That's an icon, an image, right? An idol. Okay, you don't necessarily have to worship that idol, but it reminds you of who's in charge. Or he's going to leave that king there, and the king is supposed to represent him and keep his laws and make sure he gets the taxes that are due him and all of that. So that's the job of this king, to be an icon. Okay. So remember, here's what we're told in verse 27. He creates man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. So mankind and womankind, by the way, it says male and female, he created them. So humankind is both male and female. You are called to represent this God that has created. Okay. And given authority to rule. Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it. reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground, or the creepers. Okay, so reign over the fish or rule. Yours probably says something like that. Subdue. I don't know what your version says. This is a very strange version that I picked up from Jill. What is this? Oh, New Living Translation. No wonder. Okay, interesting. All right, we're going to work out of that a little bit. So Adam is made in God's image, is given the authority to rule over all the things, right? The fish, the birds, the living creature that moves on the ground, all the different sky, water, and earth dwellers. So ruling over or subduing means to care for. It's a benevolent dictatorship. It's not really even a dictatorship. It's just benevolent taking care of. It would have to do with farming. It would be making sure that the animals are taken care of, bearing responsibility for them. That's what's going on here. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with being able to eat them. Okay, you might argue, some of you might be able to argue, and you've got a pretty good case to say that maybe the original plan was somewhat vegan. Okay, it's not the plan now. Definitely not. We should eat all the steak that we can, especially the tri-tip, my California friends, which is awesome. Okay, so that's our Genesis. We're back to Genesis. Now we're going to jump back to Daniel 7. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit because I want you to see what's happening here, and then we'll connect all the dots. So the Son of Man is on God's throne, ruling, having authority, right? That's what we've just been told that the Son of Man, or humankind, is supposed to do, have authority. And this Son of Man is even worshiping or being worshiped right next to God. But you know something about God and worship. You've read the Bible before, right? You can't do that. You can't worship man. So you're supposed to be a little bit confused about all of this at this point. Who is this human? Right? Who is this guy who's there now being worshiped on the throne of God? Which seems like blasphemy. He's there. So we don't have any picture of Jesus yet. So we don't want it to be, it's not Jesus. Okay, that's a New Testament thing. We're in Daniel chapter 7 right now. Okay, we haven't reached, there's nobody named Jesus that we know of. Okay, so what is happening for them? All right, back to Genesis. Genesis 1 tells humans to rule on his behalf. That's what God says. His image, his representation, subdue, rule. Okay, you see the two different things. You see how I'm paralleling them, how important this is. Back to Daniel 7. Okay, why is the throne of Daniel 7 unoccupied? Which is the question I asked right from the beginning. So let's go back. Let's remember what's happening in Daniel 7. There are 4 beasts, right? We've seen the 4 beasts, the violent beasts, and the 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms. Okay, you know this if you read further along in this particular chapter. Most people would say Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece. Okay, some people might want to add Rome in there and put Medo-Persia together, but I think it probably stops with Greece, although Dr. Dalrymple will probably disagree with me, and he's smarter, so just take what he says on that. At least on this subject, he is. So, so verse 37 talks about the dominion that belongs to King Nebuchadnezzar. Remember who this king is? He's the king who has conquered Israel and Judah, the places of God. We had good comments.
Sarah said it's like the 4 brothers in Brave, the story of the 4 brothers in the 4 kingdoms.
In Brave,
Yeah,
the cartoon.
the Disney movie.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I didn't have any little kids at that time. So anyway, yeah, it's exactly like that, Sarah. Nice job. Yeah, please read any good comments. Please make sure I hear. I need to hear all of this. Yeah, I saw that Carly Mraz thought Ken Ham was a funny thing. So thank you for at least laughing at my jokes or smiling, even though you're on mute. I appreciate that. I can see you. So if I say something, then it's up to you to keep me going just by giving me that, that look. All right. So Nebuchadnezzar is the king at this time, and he is said to rule over the beasts and the human birds. I'm sorry, the beasts and other humans and the birds and all of that. Basically, Nebuchadnezzar, being the king, rules over all of creation. He is doing what God has said, right? To conquer and rule. He's taken care. He's subdued creation. So what a lot of people don't understand is that Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 2 are parallel to each other. Okay, and I think in your notes, let's see if I have that in here. I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, I gave you what's it called, a chiasm there. Do you see that? Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are on the same line in the notes. Daniel 3 and Daniel 6 and Daniel 4 and Daniel 5. So the very famous one that we all know about the lion's den is Daniel chapter 6. And that's parallel to Daniel 3's fiery furnace. And the tree dream and Nebuchadnezzar becoming like an animal, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is paralleled with Belshazzar. Both of these are humbled. Both of these are kings who get humbled. And Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are parallel. That's what a chiasm is. So this is in fact, if you read Daniel, you're going to get really confused because it's not in chronological order. Like you're like, wait a minute, we already met that king. Why is he back again? Because it's not supposed to be read that way. Okay, by the way, that's also how apocalyptic literature often works. So the book of Revelation is not supposed to be read in order either. It's doing something. There's this literary technique that's going on there. But again, that's not the point of everything here. The point is here that Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are connected. So if you're reading Daniel 7 and you're not sure what to think, go back and read Daniel 2 and it will help you. So the stone from Daniel 2 that crushes the king, I'm assuming that you remember a little bit. I'm trying to just teach us Genesis and not teach us Daniel. So I'm just kind of jumping in and giving you a little bit of stuff. But remember, there's a big image that's built that's in a dream, and the stone comes and it lands on the image. It lands on the feet of the image. Well, this stone from Daniel 2 that does that becomes a mountain and fills the whole earth, according to Daniel 2, verse 34 and 35, is the Son of Man in Daniel 7. Okay, so the stone is the Son of Man. Okay, this isn't really, I don't think this is a really controversial subject. This is a pretty normal thing. I'm just making sure we get Daniel 7 in our head. Remember, there's also these violent beasts and the super violent horn in Daniel chapter 8, which we're not dealing with. The little horn tramples the people of God. So whatever these beasts are, they're really hurting God's people. Okay, they're bad guys in the story. Now humans, remember, because these 2 and 7 are parallel, these beasts aren't supposed to be beasts. And you would recognize that as soon as you read it, right? Like a lion's head with eagle wings, right? You know this is symbolic of something. Everyone knows that. So these are nations. These are different groups of people. Okay, they're just people who have become animals. Or they are empires, powers that be, who have gotten so powerful and are using their power to crush everyone around them. So they are unleashing violence on the earth. The humans have become like the animals.
Were these particular animals like on their flags at all? Or no?
You would know that. I have no idea. Let's see. If only I could see what Rob's face is doing. He's probably cleaning his garage or something while he's listening to all of this. So, yeah, I don't know if they're on their flags, but I would assume not.
Yeah.
Get this, that wouldn't make much sense. But so Daniel 7's problem is the beasts are trampling the earth. They're symbols of humans that have turned themselves into kingdoms and empires, unleashing all this violence. And they're people who should be on the throne all along throughout history, who should be on the throne, aren't on the throne because they're becoming like animals. Okay, does this make sense so far? Humans who are supposed to represent God are actually looking more like the animals. They're being very violent and they're destroying. So we're getting to the Cain and Abel story. We're getting to the Daniel 6 story. We're getting to the Lamech story. Okay, all these are coming in Genesis. So think about this parallel structure, this chiasm that here, and then jump back to Genesis in your mind. In Genesis, the humans are given authority over mankind. Oh, sorry, humans are given authority over the animals, right? That's what we're supposed to have. By the time we get here to Daniel, the animals seem to have authority over the humans. So we want to know what the heck happened, right? Because this is the reason there's nobody on the throne. Because the people are they're not being representative of God the way they're supposed to be. The plan all along was that humankind would be on the throne. Think about this. C.S. Lewis, remember? Sons of Adam and the daughters of Eve. Do you remember that? And what's the plan? to get them on the thrones, the 4 thrones of Ker Paravel. Okay, some of you know what I'm talking about here. So Lewis is brilliant in what he's doing with all of this stuff. All right, so how did it happen that the animals are now over the humans? Well, that's Genesis chapter 3. All of this is precursor so we can get into Genesis chapter 3. All right, so it says, now the serpent, I don't know what yours says here, the serpent, the Nahash. Go ahead and say that out loud, Hannah. Nahash.
Nahash.
Very good. All right. Yes, Jeremy, I need to hear you say it. Nahash.
Nahash.
Good man. All right, good. I had dinner with them and we were discussing how to say this in Hebrew this evening. So that now we've got it. So this snake, you don't have to know it in Hebrew, I don't care, was more, what do you say there? Crafty. Okay, that's a good word. Anybody got anything else? Was more
Crafty.
You got crafty.
Yeah.
Brad, you got crafty? Everybody in the room has crafty. My
Shrewd.
new shrewd. Okay. That's what my New Living Translation says. My beautiful blue. Thank you, Jill, for letting me borrow this awesome Bible. Was the shrewdest of all the wild animals or beasts that the Lord had made. One day he asked the woman, did God really say you must not eat the fruit of any of the trees of the garden? Okay, so let's go back to this word, this crafty or shrewd. It's the word arum. Okay, like anyone cares what the Hebrew word of this is, but it's actually really important, arum, because it shows up in the book of Proverbs often. Okay, for wisdom. Exactly. Good job, Travis. You're so smart. And here are just a couple. Proverbs 14:15. I think I put this one in there. Nope, I did not. I left a nice little blank for you to take the notes if you really want to. Proverbs 14:15. The naive person believes everything, but the arum person, they watch their steps. Proverbs 27:12. The arum person sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple-minded keep going and they pay the penalty. So the word is wise. It's always wise, right? It means perceptive. It means calculated. It means you can see the cause and effect of things. If I do this, then this is what's going to happen. It's discerning. Yes, it's a word that if you just do this, then things will fall into place, right? Just follow this path and you can see and navigate life well. So we're crafty, we're shrewd, we're wise. It's a good word. You can be a room and do good things with it, or you can be a room and do bad things with it. Okay, so there are wise people that aren't good with their wisdom. So the snake here is this beast, a beast of the field. That's all it says, right? It's the shrewdest of all the wild animals or the wild beasts that the Lord God had made. Yet, all of us have to admit there's something pretty interesting about this beast. Okay, there's something going on here. Remember back, when did he make the beasts? What day of creation? I think both 2 and 1 are the same day. What day are they made on? Exactly. The 6th, the same.
Oh, I thought 4th.
The same day as, right? Some of them, birds and things like that, you know, but the beasts of the land are made at the same time as mankind, but they're made prior to, right? They're made prior to, and the man is the pinnacle, right, of creation. That's what we've been waiting. The whole thing was being arranged to get them to this place. So you've got, you know, let there be light because man can't see, and then stretch the waters from the waters this way, the waters from the waters this way. The point is so that you can put your representative, your king, the one who's going to subdue the earth, is going to take care of it, in there on the land so that he can actually live. That's what we've been waiting for. And he's going to name all the animals, so he's going to have authority over them. That's the key, right? He's the guy who's going to be in charge of all of this. So, but this snake comes on the scene, who is a little lower than man, right? But amazingly perceptive. Amazingly shrewd, crafty, cunning, can see cause and effect, seems to know an awful lot of things for just being a beast. It actually has knowledge of God's private decisions, right? Almost like he's, like he hangs out with God or something. Okay, so there's something weird going on here, and people have noticed it throughout interpretive history, that this beast is more than a beast, even though all it says is that he's a beast here. Okay, he's just a wild animal. There's something else. And we started talking about this last time, right? A lot of people consider this snake to be Satan, the devil, Lucifer. And we kind of said, we don't want to go quite there, because there's nothing in this text that says that. In fact, there's nothing in the Old Testament that even talks about Satan, the creature as we know him, right? The 6 places that mention the word Satan all are talking about the Satan, the adversary. Lucifer is just a bad translation for the morning star. It's dealing with a completely different thing. So there is no story about the fall of Satan in the Old Testament. Actually, the only fall of Satan that we ever hear about is Jesus saying, I see him falling like lightning, but that's a present day falling. That's not something that happened in history. He said, I see it happening right now. And that's because Jesus' kingdom is coming. And so the strong man has to be bound. That's all in the New Testament. None of that is in relation to this particular story here, but we do have to admit there's something happening here. Something weird is happening. The only other time that we have a speaking animal is Balaam. You remember the donkey there, which is interesting because Balaam is like as an enchanter. He's a sorcerer. He's a prophet for the bad guys, right? And when he makes proclamations on them, things bad happen and stuff like that. So there's something mystical all in that. But anyway, he talks, okay, which might be enough for you to realize there's something weird going on with this beast. Okay, something is different. As we are reading this, or as the people remember Genesis probably finished telling the story during the exile or immediately following it, somewhere in that area. So much later than we might think. As they're hearing the story, they know animals don't talk. Everyone knows it. It's not some new thing, right? And it's strange, but it doesn't seem to be all that strange to Eve. She just has a conversation. Okay, I think I've told you before, if a snake starts talking, that should be enough sign for you to take out the machete and take care of it, right? Maybe you don't even need it to talk. If it's a snake, you're just going to take its head right off before that. Yeah, Kathy's like, yeah, run, do something, right? But
So much veganism.
yeah, no more veganism. Yeah, it's over, right? But we're not supposed to be violent at this point. They're just having this conversation. Okay. So this snake, we'll just call it a snake because that's what he calls it, serpent, Nachash, disagrees with God, right? Says, did God really say this? He's just asking the questions. You won't surely die, right? Really, actually, what you're going to have is knowledge like God, or like the God, the Elohim. And remember when we talked about Elohim last time? Let's see here. I have to do this at least once, right? Oh no, how do I do this? Oh, here we go.
This would be a good idea that we should raffle off your whiteboard images.
To make money. Oh yeah. Speaking of making money, everyone, thank you. Some of you guys are helping to support this, paying for this, and I really appreciate it. It allowed me to spend an awful lot of hours studying that this week and feeling good about it. And if you want to raffle off these pictures, you can do that. But here's Elohim. Remember that this part is all the plural. I'm going to write very well so that Travis can't give me a hard time. Okay, this is the plural part of this. This is El. This is God. I don't know why it's doing so badly on this. This is God, and then, so this is God's. But sometimes God himself, the singular God, is referred to as Elohim, and sometimes it's just God's. So when the snake is saying you will become like God, he might be saying you will become like the gods. Okay, we don't know what is being said here, but remember, this serpent seems to have a lot of extra knowledge right now. So something about this snake is freaking everybody out. And by the way, Isaiah, this is just a little side thing, just for fun, for those of you who like these little side parts. Isaiah sees his throne room dream, and in that, do you remember we talked about the cosmic mountain and the divine council, where the Elohim get together and they have conversations, kind of like a round table like we have here, and King Arthur is one of them, and then you've got Lancelot and I don't know, Percival and all the different, they're having these discussions about things in this round table. That's the divine council. Well, when Isaiah sees this divine council, he gets a vision of all of this. The spiritual beings there are called seraphim. You've probably heard of that before, right? The cherubim guard the Ark of the Covenant or guard the Garden of Eden, which, by the way, is the same thing, right? Right? The temple and the Garden of Eden are the same thing. That's kind of the idea that we're supposed to be getting at here. But the seraphim are snakes. It's the word for snakes, or fire snakes, really. So if you want some cool creatures in the Bible, we got fire snakes. I mean, these are the seraphim, okay? Now, I don't know if they're flaming or if they, when they bite you, they make your feet, flame there. And Rob says that he's going to be teaching on Isaiah 1 through 23 tomorrow. Fantastic. Are you going to mention the flying snakes? That's what I need to know. I mean, the fiery snakes. Yes. All right. So you definitely need to get on. Rob, Dr. Dalrymple. Dr. Dalrymple is like one of the premier scholars in the area of apocalyptic studies. Okay, Rob, he says, Rob. In regard to Revelation, the book of Revelation, which means, of course, he knows Daniel, and he knows a lot of the eschatological stuff, the apocalyptic stuff from before. And Isaiah's got some apocalyptic. By the way, he knows a lot about the Bible in general, but that's his expertise. So you'll definitely want to clue into him. Okay, so let's see, where am I? So these fire snakes, anyway, and you even see those in the Egyptian art. If you ever look at the uraeus, I think that's how it's pronounced, Ureus, uraeus, which are just these snakes with wings. Look at that. All right. Well, I don't think I can show it to you, but here you go. Look at that. Travis is just giving me this. You guys see that? There's your wing snake, your seraphim. Okay. Fire snakes. Okay.
Sarah made a good comment. She said that clearly the snake must have ate from the tree since he's so smart.
Okay, so maybe he's already eaten from the tree. That's an interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I'm not sure I would say clearly, but actually that's pretty. Yeah. Well, even if she didn't say it, it's a very smart comment. I have to think more about that. Maybe he's already snuck around. I mean, the pictures are always in the tree, right?
Can you guys hear me when I talk? Okay, cool.
Hannah's the only one saying, yeah, not really.
She just doesn't want to hear me.
Yeah, that's probably true. I should look at some other people's faces. I got to change.
According
Wait.
to Wikipedia.
Oh, everybody on this page is not
So
looking at
when
my
these
face.
guys talk, you should repeat what they say.
Okay. According to Wikipedia, what?
It's called the burning one.
The burning one. There you go.
Wikipedia's translates it to seraph as meaning is
Yep.
burning.
Good. And
Wikipedia, as we know.
always right. That's right. We do all of our research starting with Wikipedia. In this case, they're correct. So that's good. It's never fun being a teacher when people have the time to just, check you on every single thing you're saying. And especially when you're just being a generalist, you're not trying to check every little detail. You all check them right now. All right. So the question is, what is the snake? Is it Satan? Okay. We've said it's not really Satan, but kind of. It's a being that has insider access, insider knowledge, but it's still a creature. It's a beast. And this idea is going to travel, I think, through scripture, that this beast, there's a beast that has extra information that seems to be more than just a beast. And this beast, the firstborn of creation, right? Like beasts are created before mankind. Okay, firstborn of creation wants to, and this is very important to the whole thing, wants to usurp the position of the secondborn. Okay, let that sit in. Good. All right, somebody's got their mind blown on that one. Thank you. Right? So, and you're going to see this, aren't you? Like if you're already starting to think through the book of Genesis, remember, this is the intro to Genesis. You're going to see that the firstborn is constantly trying to usurp the secondborn's, right? That's going to be a normal thing. You're going to have in each one of the sons that are being born throughout this. The beast wants to rule. The beast is going to end up ruling. So this is pretty important. Hey, Jen. Hey, Rita again. Hey, Nancy. Right? The beast is important to all of this. So, but it's also an Elohim, or it seems to have the ability of the Elohim, but it seems to rebel against the Elohim. Maybe it's a seraph in the world of Isaiah. It's in there and it has rebelled. And how do we get these ideas that Satan has rebelled against God and come down? Maybe from doing some of this work right here that we're doing here. So when I say it's definitely not Satan, it's just a beast, I wanted to get a little bit more into it and say, well, it's not that there's no evidence for this being some other supernatural creature. There's something there. Okay, and we've got some kind of connections to all this. So the order, let's see where I'm at on this. Yeah. So the order is supposed to be that God is at the top, right? And then we've got the Elohim, and then man, right? This is what we normally see, mankind after that, and then beasts under that. Now, the ideal order is that God has created his representative, Adam, mankind, to be on the throne with him. So they're supposed to be, to say they're equal is a little bit hard, but they're reigning on the throne together over everything else. The Elohim are under them, that is the supernatural beings, the gods, that divine council, and then the beasts are under them. What's actually happening is God is keeping his throne just fine. The beasts are exalting themselves, and we are letting them. Okay, and we are not supposed to be letting them. I can see Riston doing goo, 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 right. There should be some music for that, right? That's the problem with all of this. The mankind is not getting on the throne the way we're supposed to. Okay, we're letting the beast be there. So Genesis 3:15 is setting out this program for the rest of the biblical storyline. Okay, so Genesis 3:15 says, I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. There will be a conflict from now on between the beasts and mankind. Okay, this is where it all begins. So God says to the snake, I'm going to set hostility between you, the serpent, the Nachash, and the woman, between your seed and her seed. So that is throughout perpetuity, right? It's going to continue like this. He, that is the seed of the woman, is going to strike you, that is the serpent, on the head, and you, the serpent, will strike him, the seed of the woman, on the heel. Both striking are the same, by the way, just one's on the head and one's on the heel. You can imagine one is a destructive blow, one is a painful blow. Okay, and we're going to deal with that, of course, when we get into the New Testament, right? So our very next story is about Cain and Abel. Okay, we're going to come back into Genesis 3, don't worry, but I want to keep going because I want us to get the big picture. How much time do we have? I got lots more time. Am I using my time wisely?
12 minutes.
What? That's not enough time to do all of this. All right. Okay, so there's nothing I can do. We're just going to go, and then I'll try and give you some cool wrap-up stuff and some application, and it's not going to be good. All right, so Cain and Abel. Cain, remember, is about to give in to beastly temptation. You know the story of Cain and Abel. We don't need to read it, right? He's about to become a beast. He's about to strike down his brother, violence, Daniel 7 style. Okay, he's overpowered by the beast. Okay, remember, sin is crouching at the door. Remember that language? Okay, so we've got this beast thing outside waiting. He's the firstborn who doesn't like the fact that the secondborn is being blessed in front of him. And so he gives into his animal nature. He becomes less than human. I often wonder if Cain is out in the field, and that's how you normally see it, right? With Cain's got like a rock in his hand or something like that. I wonder if he sneaks up on his brother like a snake, right? Because they're out there working. How does he sneak up? The point is they're out in the wilderness. They're among the wild animals, something like that, I guess. And he attacks. So Genesis 1, back to Genesis 1 ideal. Listen, everybody can flourish. Everybody can flourish. It's okay. I've got you all. There's plenty of food for us. I'll take care of everybody, God says. We can find a way, Cain should be saying to Abel, and Abel should be saying to Cain, we can find a way to flourish together. Then that's how I exert my rule and my authority as the image of God, right? That's what we're doing. I'm taking care of all these things. Genesis 4, we've now reached the far less than ideal. Now Cain feels cheated and he steps off the divine throne. Everything was supposed to be working out just fine. Cain feels like, wait a second, you put somebody else in front of me, I'll show you. And so now the throne is set aside and he's going to attack. So we have the beginning of a my kind needs to flourish mentality, right? My kind, that is the farmers, my kind, the fruit people, my kind, the animal, the shepherds, my kind, the black people, my kind, the white people, my kind, the Democrats, my kind, right? It's my people are the kind who are supposed to make it. And even though there's plenty for everybody, we become like beasts. The violence begins. Genesis 3, we do have some hope though. Remember, there's hope. The future human, whoever the Son of Man is going to strike the serpent. There's a line of humans that are coming that are going to stick with their humaneness. Okay, think of that word, humane, human, with their humanness. While there's another group of people that are going to be hostile and animal-like. Eventually, there's going to be a true human, true Son of Man, who's going to vanquish the serpent. So, now human. Human is sent out of the garden, forced to eat like the animals, right? He goes out. In fact, you can look at that as to what it is they're called to eat, and then look at them out of the garden, and the humans are eating the same green plants. We don't need to get into all of that, but it's interesting details. Remember also that there's another king, just like Adam is a priest king. There's another king in the Old Testament who also ends up eating like an animal. Right? In fact, it's in the same book as we've been working through in Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar. Remember, this is the arrogant king who ends up becoming like an animal, a beast. So he's a new Adam. That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be in charge. He's supposed to subdue, and he's doing all of that thing, but he thinks that he's subduing the earth in his own power. And the reality is he's acting like an animal in his subjugation of the world. And so God says, okay, you want to be like an animal? Boom, I'll give you animal, right? Grow feathers and claws and all that stuff. And you don't have to ask, wait, is he really becoming that? No idea, not really important to the storyline. Okay, the storyline is he's becoming like an animal. The author of Daniel is looking back, he's grabbing this language and he's bringing it into his time because he knows that everyone knows these stories. So we've got, remember our parallel structure, Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 and how all that's working. But now get back to Genesis. Okay, so Cain kills Abel. He's exiled further east. He goes to build a city. So they're kicked out. Then they're there. By the way, Cain and Abel are probably, in Second Temple literature, it says they're kicked out and they're right there at the entrance of the gate. And they're probably doing sacrifices there. That might be what they're trying to do in order to get back in to the Garden of Eden. Remember, that's the whole goal. The whole goal of the Bible is that we can get back into the Garden of Eden. Back into the temple, back into the sanctuary, back into the presence of God. Okay, call it whatever you want. That's what we want. We want things to be reconciled, for everything to be good again. And they're doing these sacrifices maybe right there in front of the cherubim, because that's not in scripture specifically, but it's in some Second Temple writings that they're trying to get back in. So Cain kills Abel. Okay, we've got beastly activity. Lamech shows up. He's the 7th generation from them. Lamech is not a name, probably. It's an anti-king. It's the word Melech with reversed letters. Okay, Melech becomes Lamech, so he's an anti-king, probably. We don't know for sure. And he uses Cain's murder and protection as confirmation that God will indeed take care of him too. He's almost arrogant in his violence. He's like, you think Cain is killed? I've killed 7 times that. By the way, we could do a whole thing on just the 7 times, right? Because that's going to show up everywhere in the Bible. 7 is so important. But it's not just jealousy that that like Cain isn't getting things, Lamech isn't getting things. It's this full move towards animal likeness. They're all becoming these violent creatures. Noah, right? Noah's 9 generations from Seth. We get another Lamech who has his son, and he calls him rest, nuach, or comfort, the one who will bring rest to us, relief, rest from the work of the ground. He's the seed of the woman. We're excited. Finally, we're going to get the rest. We've been told that we have to work in order to make everything work, but now we're going to get him. But yeah, no, doesn't work out exactly like that. Genesis 6, we find out that the divine beings have left their rightful abode, right? The sons of God have intermarried with the daughters of men. If you're just flipping through your Bible, you'll see that in Genesis 6, 1 through 4. Just trying to give you a big picture, not read every little bit of it. The seraph, or the snake, the beast, right, has left its rightful abode. And remember, the beast is lower than man, but has made himself higher. So now the sons of God are coming. They're intermarrying with the daughters of men. Mass hysteria, right? Dogs and cats living together. You remember? No, Ghostbusters. Okay. Anyway, 3 people. Good, got that. So come on. Yeah, Bill Murray. Yeah. So the Elohim are above man, and they bring themselves down to intermarry, to take wives, to whatever they end up doing there. Brad's reading the book of Enoch right now, and he showed me, and we read a few chapters last night just for fun, and it tells this whole story about this intermarrying between the sons of God and the daughters of man, what's happening there. So remember, Daniel 7 is about the Son of Man. Jesus will call himself the Son of Man. He's a true human, taking authority over snakes. Remember Jesus in the New Testament, Mark 1:13, he goes into the wilderness among the wild animals. What do you think's happening there? Right? The author is trying to get you to see that Jesus himself is the true human. Jesus himself is going to call himself in almost every occasion, like all over the place, the Son of Man. He doesn't want anybody to see him as the Messiah. He calls himself the Son of Man, the true human, the one who sits among the wild beasts and stuff like that. Okay, but not Jesus. We haven't gotten to Jesus yet. When you said 12 minutes, did you mean till the hour or till like 15
3
after?
minutes till 9.
3 minutes till 9. Okay. Only 5 more pages to go. Okay. So Noah builds this teva, right? He builds an ark, a teva, which is a micro Eden, a small Eden, lots of animals there, male and female, the sky flyers, the land walkers, the creepers, all the things from Genesis chapter 1, right? They're supposed to have authority over. He brings together in this little micro Eden. He's going to save the animals. He's going to subdue them. He's going to rule over them benevolently, right? We don't have any attacks on the ark or anything like that. Man had gone all the way downhill into animal likeness, and now we've got Noah. Everything's going to be great. We're going to bring it all back because there's only 3 narratives, right? Eden is one of the narratives, and the ark is the second narrative where we have all of the animals and man living together. The third narrative that this happens is the peaceable kingdom, right? It's in Revelation. The leopard lays down with the lamb, right? The wolf with the, all that stuff. Kids will play with serpents. Interesting kinds of things going on. That's new creation. Jesus, again, Mark 1:13, with the wild animals. So God blesses Noah. He says, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and do it. Remember all that? The same language, again, Noah is told. And what we expect, I actually jumped the gun on that. What we have is, make sure I'm right on this. Yeah, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And what we expect to come next is subdue the land, right? Rule over the beast, Genesis 1 style. But instead, God says, now the fear and terror of you will be on the beast and every moving thing that is alive. That is your food. Okay, so now things have changed. Everything is dark now. Okay, and now we have the beginning of Nimrod is coming in just a minute. Everybody remembers Nimrod, the great warrior, right? Noah gets off before we get to Nimrod, Noah gets off the boat. He gets drunk. Okay, that, by the way, in a garden, right? He sets up his vines everywhere. So he's in a new mini Eden, and he gets wasted and then naked, and his son Ham does something which we're not going to get into right now as to what that is. There's lots of different views as to what that is, either with Noah himself or with Noah's wife, that is Ham's mother. But But anyway, it all looks so good. He gets out with the animals, he plants a garden, has wine, and then it all crashes. So along comes Nimrod. Nimrod's a mighty warrior. Nimrod's the son of Ham. Okay, this son who has done all that. And Nimrod is the first killer of animals for the purposes of food. Okay, so he's the mighty warrior. There were sacrifices beforehand, but not like killing just for sport and for food. He's a beast slayer. Nimrod is the mighty beast slayer. So first thing we learn about the new humanity after the ark is that Ham's kids are a disaster. Okay, Ham is a mess. Second, we find out is that they're hunters. They're killing beasts. And he's a builder, and he builds Babylon and Nineveh. Okay, this has got to connect for some of you. Okay, if you're seeing some of this stuff. By the way, Nimrod, isn't it like everyone thinks of that word as being like a terrible word, right? You're such a Nimrod. Do you remember where that took place? Anybody know how we got that? Bugs Bunny. Who knew that?
Matt Davis.
Nice job, dude.
It's sarcastic, I know.
Yeah. I mean, because remember,
Elmer Fudd.
Elmer, thank you. You the man. Elmer Fudd he calls him a Nimrod, right? Because he's a mighty hunter. And then it becomes this bad word like against him, like he's such an idiot, right? We call people Nimrods, and it's like, you're such a nerd, a dork, an idiot. But it's really, he just meant you're a mighty warrior, and he's changed all of culture. I mean, Bugs Bunny. Anyway, okay. So Nimrod is a builder. He's a warrior and he's a builder, and he builds Babylon and he builds Nineveh. Okay. Nineveh is the capital city of Assyria. So Assyria and Babylon, the places that will take Israel and Judah into captivity, are built right here in this story. The violent grandson is going to build two empires that will one day carry away the people of God. These cities found by a violent man are part of the cycle, giving into this beastly urge to create an empire through destruction, through destroying others, ruling. So if you follow the narrative thread of these humans giving into the beasts, humans acting like beasts, it leads you to Nimrod and the founding of Babylon and Assyria. And that's why they're given a lot of attention in the Bible, of course, because these cities are the portraits of the snake, of the serpent, of the beast, the snake seed, acting like animals. So in Daniel's dream, the first beast of his dream is explicitly labeled as Babylon, the kingdom that has become an animal-like and violent. And there's just no way for me to. Oh yes. Okay, I'm going for it. All right. I'm going to just keep going for a minute. Okay. So, and we can go back and do it better next week and make some connections here. But the kingdom that's become animal-like and violent is Babylon. There are humans who will one day be restored to rule, and there are humans who are acting like beasts. The question is, which side of this are we on? Are we on the side of the beasts, or are we on the side of humans? Because even the promised, the chosen ones, Israel, who is supposed to be the humans, even they act like beasts. Okay, so the good side end up being beasts too. They act like animals, snakes, because they're humans. Okay, God wants to elevate these humans to the throne, but it remains unoccupied, like in Daniel's dream. So the humans aren't being humans. Are you hearing this, humans? The humans are not being humans. They're being beasts, unleashing violence on the world. We're looking for Genesis 3:15 to break through, for the seed of the woman, the seed Israel, from the good side of things to come through. We're looking for the son of Adam, son of Adam, the son of man, son of humanity to come. We want him to come and strike the serpent beast to reverse what's been done and fulfill humanity's calling. Finally, that's what we've been waiting for. And even all the best ones fail over and over again. And so you know what's going to happen, right? God is going to embody himself. He's going to become embodied. And this man is going to walk around and he's going to call himself the Son of Man. All over the place. Okay. He is grabbing hold of Daniel chapter 7 language, and people would know it. This one who is seated on the throne in Daniel 7, the true human, is there. So Mark 8, and he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again, the Son of Man. Mark 2, but so you may know that the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins. He says to the paralytic, I say to you, get up, pick up your bed, and go home. Mark 4, Jesus is tempted to seize power. Remember the promise of Satan in the wilderness among the wild animals. The beast, the snake, is there in the wilderness with him. And he says he's going to give him empires to rule over. That's what he's promised if he just gives in to the Satan, into the devil. Mark 14, Jesus said, by the way, these are in lots of the Gospels. I'm just trying to go with Mark. And Jesus said, I am, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. Does that sound anything like Daniel 7? Right? It's the same language again. Acts 7, and he said, behold, I see the heavens open and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. Why is he there? Because he's taken the throne in Daniel 7. True humanity has taken the throne. Hebrews chapter 2. But one has testified somewhere saying, what is man that you remember him, or the Son of Man that you are concerned about him? You have made him for a little while lower than the angels. You've crowned him with glory and honor and appointed him over the works of your hands. You have put all things and subjected him under his feet, for in subjecting all things to him, he left nothing that is not subject to him. But now we do not yet see all the things subjected to him, right? He's finally done what's been called upon. Like that man, human, Son of Man, was supposed to do, to become the king over all these other things. Jump to Revelation just for fun. Here's where Rob's going to tell me I'm wrong on stuff, I'm sure, but he's pretty nice and humble. He probably won't. Revelation 11 has the beast conquering two witnesses, right? And I think even Rob said that that's Elijah and Moses. But the point is that these two witnesses are they represent the people of God, right? The two that are supposed to go into the world and make a difference here. Revelation has beasts as well. In fact, it grabs hold of all four of the beasts and compiles them together. One beast comes out of the sea, right? The chaotic sea, Leviathan, Yam, the monster, the sea monster that's coming out. See, every book is interpreting the books before it. They're grabbing hold of the cool things in there and they're bringing them into the future. And this first beast represents religious and economic power, I think. And then there's another beast who represents political, and that beast helps you worship the first beast. Okay. And then that second beast is also called the false prophet, which is fascinating to me because the snake in the garden is a false prophet in the temple. So this beast is called a false prophet, but it's having you worship somebody else, the first beast. And by the way, the dragon empowers the beast, and the dragon is just a serpent, by the way, right? It's just another Nachash in here. This dragon comes in, and the false prophet causes people to worship this first beast. The dragon empowers the beast. There's three different things, right? The beast from the sea, the beast from the land, and the dragon, all animals, serpents, kingdoms who are anti-God, anti-Christ. Talk about the anti-Christ, right? These are just the empires of the world. That's what's happening here. They're anti-God and this God who's coming to defeat them. The idea is that worship is stolen away from humanity. They're modeled on Moses and Elijah. Yeah, I don't see what else. Oh, crud.
They are not them. They're the people of God of fulfillment of the law and the prophets.
Dang it, that's what I said, Dr. Dalrymple. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm saying it's like them. It's modeled on them. It's the two. It's the people of God going forth. So he made it much clearer. But so these are all animals, serpents, kingdoms who are anti-God and whom God will defeat. Okay, the idea is that worship is going to be stolen away from humanity, the true human on the throne. So basically, these beasts have created a trinity among themselves. Dr. Dalrymple and I were talking about this last week as I was running all these ideas by him. And he was like, ting, ting, just point, like he was helping me come up with things. And I think his mind was even, I probably helped him a little bit, but probably not as much as he helped me. But this idea that the Trinity, right? We have a Trinity as well. There seems to be this triumvirate of people here. And our job is to crush this Trinity of beasts. That's our job, to not allow the dragon / serpent / beast / Elohim, that kind of Elohim, to get the worship that is supposed to be reserved for the true human, the Son of Man. To not allow political, economic, religious power to draw our attention away from the one goal, the goal being that children can play by the serpent's den, leopard with a lamb, that peaceable kingdom, humanity once again in right relationship with the world. Does this make sense? Was I going so fast and so many cool little connections that you can't remember any of them? Like, this is super exciting, the way that all of these authors are working, not together so much, but after the fact and jumping in and pulling these ideas back in. So Wait,
You just threw in the Trinity Triumvirate.
Yeah.
Or what is that?
the beast, the beast, and the dragon. So the dragon empowers them to worship the first beast. But the point is that the beasts have come up above humanity, and humanity is supposed to be pushing them down. So, I mean, this speaks into every time you're watching a news cycle, right? It's what empires are trying to become powerful, and especially through violence. And how are we supposed to push the beast back down? How do you push the beast down in yourself, right? In society. I mean, do we say, hey, I have a gun and I will use it if you try and hurt me, right? That's a beastly response. Okay, the correct response would be truly human, right? What did the true human do, the Son of Man? Got pinned to a cross, willing to sacrifice anything, because this serves the nations of the world. This is how the nations are healed. By the way, Revelation is all about the healing of the nations, right? The leaves on the trees for the healing of the nation that are growing by the river that's coming out from the throne, the new Eden, down the highway, down the road. All these connections for this new Eden, paradise land. And I am so far over, aren't I? I should be quiet. Yeah, good question. Anybody have any questions? Thanks. I had to keep going. It was just too exciting. Sorry that I didn't let anybody talk this time. You have something to say? This is the time to say it, because Dr. Dalrymple probably won't be on here again. Well, he might be. He loves me. He probably will. But if he's not, you're going to miss out on this great opportunity to ask him cool Revelation questions. And look, there he is. Now he's not working in his garage or whatever anymore. He's ready to listen. Oh yeah, that's right. He's moving out of his house. And he got rid of the pool table, right? That's terrible. We're gonna celebrate my birthday together, but now he doesn't have a pool table, so I'm not going over there. Got nothing to do. Priorities.
So it's 7 churches representative of something other than countries? Are they just representative of groups of men that are directed to
What do the 7 churches represent, Dr. Dalrymple? I was going to hand it to him. I've been talking the whole time.
All of Christendom, the church, all churches combined. That's why there's 7.
7. Remember the 7.
Mhm.
7 always is the complete number.
And throughout the letters, it says, see what the Spirit says to all the churches. So it's not just those 7, it's all of Christendom.
And so Revelations is an instruction to them to help to crush the beasts.
Revelation is instruction. You can hear? Okay. Revelation is instruction to help crush the beast.
For all
To overcome the beast,
To overcome, right?
right? But the beast overcomes us, just like the beast overcame Christ through his death, but Christ rose again and therefore actually overcame the beast. So it looks like the beast is overcoming Christ, but it didn't. And it looks like the beast is overcoming us, but when we're faithful to the point of death, then we rise again and hence prove to be victorious.
Christus Victor in there.
Christus Victor. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Man, that was a
And-
really good summary in one sentence. Really good.
Thanks.
Atonement theory called Christus Victor.
Oh, okay.
Travis is talking about the atonement theory called Christus Victor, where
Right,
Jesus
right.
conquers the darkness or the beasts.
As opposed to penal substitution or other theories.
Not necessarily opposed to, but
or they could be in harmony.
yeah, it could be an argument. Yes,
Although they have differences.
they do definitely have
So does
differences.
grace and justice.
That's right. Anybody else, or just the live people? Well, you're all live, but I assume you're live. Man, it's good to see all of you. I've got 2 screens that are mostly full, so this is kind of cool. Todd and Karen and I can't move video. So, yeah.
To create the ideal order with God and Adam, mankind, God himself became mankind to make the ideal order.
Yes.
Cool story, right?
Yeah. The coolest ever. Yeah. It's the biblical story, right? Says this filter down to Jesus. Right. We're waiting for we've been waiting for true Israel to do its job, but Israel keeps failing. So it all comes down to an Israel of one is what I always say. And then on the other side, right, it expands into an Israel of all of you and those 7 churches, all of Christendom. That's the idea. So that's why Dr. Dalrymple is fond of reminding me that it's not that the Bible all points to Jesus, or at least it doesn't stop there, right? It also points to the church. That's the idea. It's Jesus has now empowered the church. And he goes up in a cloud, right? The Son of Man. And then the Holy Spirit comes down from the skies in order to empower us. And if you remember, we go up when he comes down again later on. So
It's an application point.
Yeah.
You haven't said any.
I haven't said any. Crush the beast. Stop the animalistic tendencies. The violence is supposed to go away, right? We're supposed to be calling for peace. There's some people who would argue that the entire Bible that's the main theme there, is that violence is the primary sin in there, and this violent idea, this beastly idea that we have, and that we need to put that away and sacrifice ourselves like Jesus did, right? This is take up your cross. Isn't, get teased every once in a while because you're wearing a Christian t-shirt or WWJD bracelet. It's take up your cross. It's sacrifice yourself for others.
Live peaceably among men.
Live peaceably among men.
So that person that you're struggling with, the instruction that you could have is, how can you love that person more, to be selfless yourself as opposed to how you're going to change them, or something like that.
I like that one. Yeah, we can stick with that one.
Stole it from you.
You just kind of stole it from me. Yeah. I just stole it from Jesus, but yeah. How are you going to deal with the person next to you that you don't like, the person at church that you don't like, or the person who's not at church, who's not a Christian, and you think is a lesser person somehow because they're not a Christian? How are you going to love them? What's it going to take for you to give up your rights in order to defeat the empires of the world? How are the empires of the world going to be conquered? Yeah, through justice, humility, and peace. Sound familiar? Matthew chapter 5, Beatitudes. Right? That's how it's all summarized. Justice, humility, and peace. Making peace. You always put, like, will there ever be peace in the Middle East? Right? This is when is yours speaking, Dr. Dalrymple? Did you already talk about that? Have you already done the forum?
Tomorrow night at 4 o'clock. Well, 7 o'clock for you guys on the East Coast. I'll be on a webinar. I can put the link in the chat box if everyone stays on for another 30 seconds.
Somebody will stay on for 30 seconds. I certainly will.
Let me find it.
He's done a lot of work on Palestinian peace, bringing together Israel and Palestine. He's taken lots of tours there. If you ever want to go there, you can probably talk to him about that. But where a Palestinian and an Israeli will help lead tours and tell you what's going on, and each of their own biases and what's happening. So
Andrew had a great sermon about unity this past Sunday. If anybody wants to check that out on the Presby page.
So those of you who go to Presby, which it seems like a few of you, I don't send you any invitations. Sorry, if you happen to find your way here, I'm trying not to send you any invitations. But
Or if you don't go, Presby TV.
or if you don't go, you can still look it up. That's right. But Pastor Andrew, who I worked with for years, fantastic pastor, and he preached a great sermon about that this last Sunday. So about anti-nationalism and
About unity.
and unity in general. Yeah. Actually, that's what I talked about on Sunday too. Unity. Although
Christian nationalism, I never thought I'd hear him say it. Those two words stirred up a words.
yeah.
Jesus and John Wayne.
Jesus and John Wayne. There you go.
I'm about halfway through it.
All right. Well, I'm going to stay on here for a few minutes, of course, but I'm going to give you permission to say goodbye if you want to, but you feel weird being the first person to leave. So thank you for coming, and feel free to send me questions during the week. I don't know where we're going next week, but it'll probably be Cain and Abel and and maybe the sons of God and the daughters of man stuff, the Nephilim. I haven't started studying for it. So, and you saw Dr. Dalrymple's, he had his link there. He gave it. So I would recommend it highly.
I'll put it on the Facebook page.
And it's going to go on the Facebook page. Yeah. So nice to see you guys. Oh, you're welcome, Karen. Thank you. It's free. Oh, even better. You don't have to pay him. Yeah, you have to pay me for this, by the way. So, I mean, no, you don't have to. I'm just kidding. Some of you are, and again, blessings to you. Thank you. But you can definitely go and listen to. He's also got a bunch of great books on eschatology and Revelation and stuff like that, if you're interested. So, good night. I'm staying here, but good to see you. Bye, Gracie.
Thank
Bye,
you. Good night.
Stephanie. Bye, Stacy. See you guys. And bye, Facebook Live people.